Guys, great news for the people who have been slightly skeptic or have been completely enraged by Disney's treatment of Star Wars, or rather the people at Disney's treatment of Star Wars and all that. We have some great news. The Clone Wars is coming back. It's fucking coming back. I don't believe it. I never thought I'd see the day, but here it is. We are getting the Clone Wars right back to us, and that is just a thing. That is just like, that redeems so much of quality to Disney Star Wars. The bad thing is it's going to be on Disney's streaming service, but honestly, I don't give a fuck. I pay for it just to watch it, despite not having a lot of money to begin with. But still, I mean, from the things that have been going on over the last few years, particularly with Rian Johnson and The Last Jedi, and how everybody's, has been at each other's throats over the last few months and more than half a year now. I mean, it's just like, honestly, this is just a big breath of fresh air for Star Wars fans. I think this is something that everybody can agree needed to happen in order to have like some closure to the last of the old Star Wars stuff when it came to, like, this was the last TV show that George Lucas produced for Star Wars, or anything that George Lucas produced for Star Wars before he sold it to Disney. And the way it ended was done really shitty because Disney was like, nah, we're just gonna cancel it for no reason. And that really, after along with the loss of the EU, that really hurt a lot of fans, and a lot of fans were rightfully upset, and I can completely understand why you would not trust Disney even ever more forward after that. And it just sucked. It just sucked. And then we got Rebels, which was to a lot of people, well, to some people, was an inferior continuation of that storyline. I didn't really continue it, but it was like a new thing. It was kind of inferior, and it didn't really do much to really help the overall story to some degree. From what I've heard, some people think it's okay, some people think it's great. I haven't seen it completely. I've seen a couple episodes. It's interesting, but nothing's really pulled me in. Topped that off, I think the art style just like took a big step backwards compared to the Clone Wars animation, which was perfect and beautiful. Well, not perfect, but it was beautiful. So it's just it's been kind of a rough take for Disney when it came to the TV series and stuff like that. And we're getting a new Jon Favreau Star Wars TV series, which I am excited to see. But they're also coming out with a new animated Star Wars show called Star Wars Resistance or something, which was kind of like meant to tie into like, the whole Rebellion First Order thing, but it's going to be in anime form for some reason, and it's going to tie into the whole storyline with Episode 7, which is weird because 6 planets get blown up or 5 or 6 planets get blown up in The Force Awakens, and that was kind of a brutal moment. So it's like, we're gonna be going through some more shit. Why are you making it a kids thing? But anyway, and this is a good way for Dave Filoni, the guy who directed the Clone Wars movie, and basically helmed the entire thing when it came to the Clone Wars as a whole. This is good for him. This is really good for him. This is an opportunity to finish what he started, and this is the big thing that people were wanting out of the Clone Wars, is being able to finish what was started so long ago. And honestly, it's just a breath of fresh air. I mean, this shows that Disney still has some faith in the fan base. I mean, yeah, the fan base has been at each other's throats since the release of The Last Jedi, and for some even before that, with the promotion and distribution of The Force Awakens, and then Mark Hamill and his not so happy comments towards Rian Johnson's treatment of Luke Skywalker and stuff like that. The entire levee of issues that have come up since then, the Crowley Marine Tran conversation and stuff like that. It's just so many things have been going on in the Star Wars fan base has been basically ripping everybody to shreds. And seeing this coming back from Disney, that they're not rebooting the Clone Wars, that they're actually coming back for one last season, 12 more episodes, to close out what the remaining story that there was left. And it's perfect. Alright, it's perfect. Okay, this is what we needed to essentially help the fan base. I think some people at Disney really do care about this now. Like, because like when Disney got it, a lot of people were like, well, a lot of people were really unsure about what they were going to do with their current property that was still in production, like with Cartoon Network's Clone Wars stuff, because that was a Cartoon Network exclusive thing. People were wondering how they were going to react to, like, how they were going to, you know, keep these series going for a while until they got on track for The Force Awakens. And then when The Force Awakens came out, and then, well, not before The Force Awakens came out, they canceled it. And it was just seemingly for no reason. Like, they just canceled it. They said, well, it wasn't doing good on Cartoon Network. It was because Cartoon Network was, you know, if you paid any attention to the Legend of Korra situation with the entire promotion of the Legend of Korra Season 3, and how basically the Legend of Korra Season 3 was almost canceled because of how badly it was promoted. Alright, I did not like Legend of Korra Season 3. In fact, as a matter of fact, I've almost completely lost touch with that show. But, it was really badly promoted. Like, the promotion for The Legend of Korra was really shitty and really downright distasteful and pathetic. Because like they didn't start releasing trailers for like until like 3 weeks before it premiered, and even then they only showed them like a couple of times during SpongeBob episodes, which was pathetic. And Cartoon Network around that time, they had more priorities and stuff for stuff that was their own productions, like, you know, Regular Show and stuff like that. And I love Regular Show, but Disney just thought that stuff like that was going to have more clout. And I don't remember when Teen Titans Go was put in place. That could have had an impact, like the production of Teen Titans Go before it actually came out, maybe. I don't know. But it seemed like when Disney canceled the Clone Wars, like, they just didn't care. It just seemed like they didn't care about that property at all, and it was just pathetic. It was just pathetic. They didn't try to defend their decision with something actually, you know, that was actually feasible. It was just them being fucking idiots. And, you know, it was one of the things that kind of not split the fan base apart, but made people very unreceiving of Disney's, like, treatment. Especially Kathleen Kennedy. Of course, and a lot of people were kind of hoping Dave Filoni, if everything works out right, could take Kathleen Kennedy's place to head Lucasfilm. Which would be a good idea. Dave Filoni is actually very responsive to the fans. He's made a lot of, not exactly made a lot of comments in the past, but seeing this decision shows that Dave Filoni does care that the Clone Wars is going to get a continuation, and he knows that a lot of people wanted that. That was one of the big things about the Clone Wars is that it didn't get an ending, and a lot of people wanted that ending. And I think a lot of people at Lucasfilm, after The Last Jedi and Solo, were finally like, hey, we need to do something to get more fans back. If we keep doing things like we're doing, we're not going to be able to do what we want later on. And then they got the people who cared, like Dave Filoni. They got him back. They said, hey, we need to do this, and we think you're the one guy who can do it. And Dave Filoni's like, this was my pet project. I love it like a baby. Let me do this. And they let him do it. Just good. Now, I don't know what it's going to have in mind for Resistance or whatever that show is going to be called. But honestly, this is a big step in the right direction for Disney Star Wars. And if they can keep it up, then I think Episode 9 won't be as much of a not only will Episode 9 not be as much of a financial failure, I think they can help get Star Wars back on track after the travesty that was Episode 9's The Last Jedi's writing. To be honest with you, this could be the thing that helps modern Star Wars. And this is coming from a guy who thinks that, you know, Star Wars should have just stopped everything after the Clone Wars. Like, after the Clone Wars, there should have been nothing else, because there was nothing else to do. And if George Lucas wanted to do, like, an Episode 7, then he could do that. But, like, as far as TV shows and stuff, other than video games, TV shows and other things should just stop. Because there was nothing else really to tell. And one of the big things about, you know, the new sequels is they're a soft reboot. They're not an actual sequel, per se. It was just basically a retreading of a bunch of old events. And The Last Jedi is mostly that, though, with some original things that it kind of throws away for some reason. So it's just honestly, the entire situation at Lucasfilm, it's been pretty chaotic, especially with, you know, Bob Iger saying that, hey, you guys need to stop doing what you're doing. You know, nobody's keeping Rian Johnson on a leash. He's going to be a prick, and then, you know, the toxic fans are going to be pricks, and then the rabid defenders of The Last Jedi are going to be pricks. So it's just everybody's being a prick. And honestly, this decision by Lucasfilm to bring back the Clone Wars is a good idea, and it's going to stop everybody from being pricks for at least a little while. So if it's going to stop it might stop the bleeding. I think it will stop the bleeding in some capacity for a while. I'm not sure how long it could last. It might not be able to work like some people want it to. It could suck. But honestly, seeing this, I think it just makes so many people happy, and it's easy to see why. And honestly, seeing the Clone Wars, it was a show I watched on TV almost every day, and then I lost track of it just before it was canceled, and I really regret not getting all of it on DVD when I had the chance. It was just but being able to get the Clone Wars back on TV, to see the story come to an end, and get the awesome conclusion that we were told about shortly after it was canceled, where it was Ahsoka trying to find Anakin via the Force, and then Anakin's Darth Vader, and then Ahsoka runs away. That would have been like an awesome way to end the show. And the way the show ended, it just ended on Ahsoka leaving the Jedi, leaving the Jedi, and that was just like, well, and you were thinking, whoa, we have to have something else, and you were right, but it ended basically like Firefly. There's so much left that you could do, but they couldn't because they canceled it, because Fox/Disney was being retarded when it came to that property. Alright, Firefly is such an amazing show. Okay, Jared Dines made a good point about this in his video about the Clone Wars, and, you know, his reviews of Firefly and such. Just basically about the whole situation. This Firefly was just taken too soon and for no real reason. It was mostly due to corporate incompetence. And that's basically the rundown of what happened to the Clone Wars, but I think the difference between Firefly and the Clone Wars is the fact that Disney has actually shown that, hey, we're actually trying to get some more input from the fans here. We're not going to be apathetic douchebags anymore, or at least we're trying not to. We're trying to remedy that, and that honestly seems seems like a good thing. It just screams that they're actually starting to learn from their mistakes. This is one of the comments that I've been making since the release of The Last Jedi, and moreover since the release of the Halo Infinite trailer, is that 343 Industries was Disney Star Wars, only Disney Star Wars is actually learning from their mistakes and not being dicks to their fans. This decision here by Disney to bring back the Clone Wars, like I said, it shows that Disney does care about input. They care about fan input, and it may not be everything we want it to be. Of course, it's not going to be, everybody's going to want it to turn out differently for some areas, but honestly, having the Clone Wars get one last season is a good thing, and it's going to help Star Wars in the long run, and may or may not find a way to bridge the entire Star Wars fan base out of the husk that was the controversy surrounding Star Wars: The Last Jedi. And honestly, that just makes me more excited to see it, to see that some people are actually caring in Lucasfilm about the characters that we have seen, and you know, actually rebuilding the things that were torn down. And that's honestly just a great thing to see. Okay, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Little discussion that I had. I tried to keep it a little bit short, not as short as I wanted it to be, but still, I got it. So I'll see you guys later. Don't die.